Hello everyone, this is Cardlin, and I wanted to create a video about the new scrying and excavating skills that are coming with the next update, Greymoor. And what I've seen from other guides so far is maybe they're not too in depth, or else they start with the user already maxed out in those skills. What I wanted to go over is how we would actually start off, like, you know, which is what's going to happen when the update hits in May and June. How do we start from zero, basically? Where do we get the unlock the abilities, and where do we get started, basically? And just what the first couple of levels of leveling these skills looks like, the different elements of this, which is using the scrying tool and digging in the excavating site, and just going through everything like that. So we start off, we're in Solitude, which when you enter the Greymoor DLC or chapter, the first way shrine there is already unlocked for you. At least it was on the PTS. I don't know if this can be the same, but we see that we have a pretty close to the way shrine inside the city. We can actually see a quest marker where it calls for antiquarians, and we follow this quest marker to the antiquarian circle, and we meet our first quest giver. So it's a pretty brief introduction here. It only takes like 5 minutes to just really get going with this, and then you can just start into everything else. I did edit this video, but I actually spent 3 hours yesterday evening just playing around with it and looking at different things like that. I'm fast forwarding here. If you want to slow it down or pause it, you can read the text if you like. I'm not going to show every single thing because it is just PTS, and I wanted to focus on just the actual elements of gaining the skill line and moving through the quests, basically. Now, one thing I did notice, which is kind of my motivation for making this video, to be honest, is there's really not a lot of guidance from the game itself from certain points of view. Like, it doesn't tell you how to access the antiquarian eye, or how to start scrying. And also, it just, even when you go into the dig site, it's like, well, here you go, figure it out. So I think that's part of the motivation for me actually creating this video. So what I'm doing now is I've already edited the video portion together, and I'm just talking over it as I'm basically recording at this point. Here we are talking to my favorite NPC, Gabrielle Benelli, from way back. Anyway, so she's going to get us started. She basically has just a beginner's quest where you go through some of the basics. And we should start off with the scrying tool pretty quickly here. So the way that we access the scrying tool, and you can see me right here in the video trying to figure this out, is I'm looking through menus, and I was like, well, here's the antiquarian eye in our collection, but that's not what we use. There's actually two different ways we can do this. One is from your journal, which I'll hopefully figure out pretty soon. There we go. We look for the Antiquities tab in our journal, and on that antiquity or the scryable quests that are available, we right-click and scry. Now, let's talk about the process of scrying here a little bit more in further detail. Why I've got the game paused, or the video paused, as it turns out. Our goal here is to basically reach the glowing thing here, and whoops, Sorry. And then this glowing thing, it has like a ring going around it. It's not really glowing, but I guess it is. But we start from this point at the bottom. Now, it's kind of an interesting little puzzle once I started playing around with it. And as we level up our skill lines, we're going to unlock more abilities, which will be slotted here at the top. And once I get to level 3, or level 2, I'll unlock one ability, and I'll have video for that. But we actually have like 10 attempts to do this, and you'll see this thing down here gradually fill up or empty, whatever it looks like. It's basically going to rise up to the peak, and when it vanishes, you have no more turns. But essentially, it's 10 turns. Although with the passives, I think that increases to 12 eventually. So the idea here is that we want to match together symbols. It's not that we're matching symbols, that we're clicking on an area. So like we see all these kind of sunburst symbols here together. So when I go in here, and hopefully I'm getting to a point where I can click on this pretty soon. Maybe I stopped the video too long. Okay, and you see this here when you move your mouse around if you're on PC. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work on console. But if we move our mouse around, when we mouse over these areas, because they're all the same symbol and they're connected to our starter point, we could unlock this whole area. And the goal is to unlock areas until we make a path to this circle we're trying to reach, our Scrying center, or whatever it is. Now from here, there's multiple paths. Like from this point, I could have unlocked these hexagonal shapes. These are all connected. These are all connected. So there's some different options here. At this stage, because there's only one of these that we need to unlock, it's pretty easy. And it's meant to be easy in this introductory part. So I'll just let the video keep going and show you how I've done this. So you can see I've unlocked all these. Now all of these have the same character as our starting hexagon. Then I unlocked these 3. And finally those last 3. And it's connected them all together, and it unlocks the bottle of proving. So what it does is it gives us a general location for the antiquity site. And you can see I'm looking at the skill bars right now, or skill lines. There's actually there's like 10, you'll need 10 points, 10 skill points for both skill lines. Anyway, I got out here into Courtyard and where the quest led me, and I didn't see anything. And I actually spent more time here than this in the video. I just couldn't figure out what was going on. I think I even relogged at one point. But certainly reloaded UI, put into stealth, see if that helped. Anyway, my solution was to run away, which sounds kind of odd, but when for those of us that played from launch, we remember a lot of these problems from the very first couple of months of the game. And one of the things that would sometimes work is if you just had to run far away and run back to the location, and it'll actually be loaded in now. And you see, hey, there it is. I shouldn't have missed it, but it just wasn't there before. So now we go into our dig site. So I've paused it again. Now at level 1, basically just starting out like we are, we only have 2 tools available. We have our scrying tool over here, and we have, what do they call this? This is just like a little dust brush or something. So we'll be able to dust off layers of dirt and soil with that. Now, top number here, 75. This is how many actions we can take inside our dig site here. Okay, that includes it's a combination of using the scrying tool and using our brush to dust off layers. Now, typically there's 4 things that we can find in these dig sites from what I've seen. And we have the main thing that we're looking for, which is Gabrielle's bottle of proving, listed here at the top. We're also looking for 3 other items, basically 3 bonus items that may be hidden anywhere else throughout the dig site. Now, I don't remember what this 100 was for. Maybe it isn't anything, but if we see it moving, I'll comment on it. So there's our auger. I call it scrying, but here's our auger. And basically what this is kind of our radar. Like if we click in different places, the border around it shows us how close we are to the item that we're trying to find. And so letting that continue. I wasn't sure what to do at first here. I was just messing around. And so you can see me basically trying to click in the same spot again. That's not going to work. I click next to it, which is not productive when it has that border around it. Basically, we're looking for like a glowing yellow border. So then as I know, we got to start trying different places. And so you can see I'm just, tapping different places, clicking on different places, and right here we can see this is not quite as glowing as these are, so probably the artifact is a little bit more centralized in this area. I don't know why I kept going at that point. But yeah, basically we're just trying to zero in on where this artifact is located. Now, from here we either tap W on the keyboard, or I don't know why I keep going with that. We tap W on the keyboard, and now we can start digging in these different locations. Now, at this point, I think there's 2 or 3 layers. I think it's just 2 layers. And then, once you're at the bottom, you either find something or you don't find something. Well, okay, I've found Gabrielle's bottle of proving. Now it's up to me to look further. Actually, like some of these, and you'll see it like there's mixed levels here. These parts there, like which are most of the dig site, only have 2 layers, but with this rocky part, that actually has 3 layers. And so each time you click and eliminate 1 layer, it uses up one of our actions that we can take. And so I'm just going at random. I don't even know why I'm not. So this is still pretty early in the process. This is just me just kind of figuring out what's going on. Realistically, we should dig all the way to the bottom layer each time at these different locations. So just keep going with this, and actually I may be digging to the bottom. It's just a shallow surface, so it's only like 1 or 2 layers everywhere. So I found something else, and in this case there's only 1 bonus loot item, which was just an extra 100 gold, which is nice. Anyway, you turn in that quest.
There you have it. You're a proper antiquarian now. Seems you have quite a knack for it too. Just keep practicing with the antiquarian's eye.
And then now that we have that quest turned in, we can start doing others on our own.
I'd report back to Verida and let her know you successfully extracted the first antiquity. Don't expect too much in the way of praise, but trust me.
Anyway, I just let the quest keep going at this point.
No time like the present, eh?
Alright. So I looked at my skills. Now, notice the scrying increased by 1, and it takes 8 to increase to level. Same with excavation. Although I later discovered these increase at different speeds. I wasn't quite sure why it did that, but because I had imagined that they would be increasing at the same pace, but maybe that's something I was doing. So now we have this Nord Scrimshaw pendant available, and here's kind of what we see for more of a typical scrying event, which is we have 6 nodes and we want to capture each of those. And again, we only have 10 attempts, and we don't have any of our tools here yet. So we're just trying to link together different patterns to open up the path to each of these 6 things. And you can see me kind of looking around, but and again, the first one we unlock has to be connected to our first hexagon here. So I actually was doing this kind of quickly, maybe for the first time. I was just kind of playing around with it, but from a scientific standpoint, I probably should have tried to see what happens if you run out of moves, but I didn't, and then I let my ego say, well, I'm not screwing this up. So anyway, so you can see I've unlocked each of them, and right here you see this is kind of emptying, so that means I only had 1 or 2 more attempts before it was going to run out on me, and I just have to start over and try again. I think that's what happens. So there's kind of a logic puzzle approach to this thing, which is kind of right up my alley. So this is fortunate for me. One thing about this here, when it reveals the location, you have to click continue before you can interact with the map, and you'll see me completely failing at clicking to continue first before I'm trying to do all kinds of other stuff here. So finally I figured it out, and then I marked it, and then now we just ride to that location since we don't have any way shrines close to that. So of course I skipped through most of this. So actually here we are at the location already, and one of the things that I discovered, and part of this was tainted by me my first experience where it didn't load properly, so like this is almost like half an hour later after I first got this quest, before I was able to find it. But it's actually a pretty decent sized area, and just starting off, it's going to take a little while to find all that. Find the spot. So hopefully I didn't leave too much of this in here, but it did take me almost half an hour. And part of it may be that it was initially bugged where it was not showing at first. So I'm not entirely certain how much that is affecting it. I'm hoping that gets ironed out before it actually launches, but going around, hopefully I'm going to find it soon. Do like the look of the landscape and everything. Certainly reminds me of Skyrim, which is nice. I think once you have a little bit more experience here, we can see the glowing pattern around the dig site. Once we get a little bit more experience, certainly for myself and anyone else, I think it gets a little bit easier to kind of recognize these from a better distance. And the good news is that as we unlock, or as we increase our level in these skill lines, one of the passives we get is basically a keen eye passive for these things, so we'll be able to see them from further away, and that eliminates some of the headaches that we initially run into. So again, we just have our brush and our auger here, so now that I know how to use the auger, I tend, and this is kind of the process I started doing, is I just try to get some different areas in the dig site to try to figure out where it is, and then you're just kind of homing in on it basically. So once I found a good spot and I started clearing out some of the dirt, again, not entirely comfortable with the brush and digging it all the way to the bottom yet, but already found a bonus item which was surprisingly close to the actual item. Another bonus item. It's I don't know if that stuff's random or if it lets you find it more easily the higher your level gets, or what. It's just something I'm not sure about. There we go. Um, so it may be at randomly placed. Who knows? But anyway. So at this point, we've already found 2 of the bonus items. There's generally 3 from what I've seen after that first practice quest. So we had the main item and then 3 bonus items. And again, we're using up our moves here, but every single dig site I've tried, I've been able to clear it entirely, which has been good. For our bonus loot, you see we typically get a little bit of gold, and we get a treasure item type, which you sell that for more gold, and then sometimes an equipment type or another treasure type. Now each of these items has 3 codex entries, so we've done the first one here, and we get just a brief description about the item from one of the different researchers in the Antiquarian Society. So once we do that, now we go back and enter our scrying tool, which here you can see I discovered. We can see our antiquities located in this zone from the map. Actually, we have a new tab in the map that allows us to access these, which makes it a little bit nicer. And again, we have these 6 locations that we need to unlock, or what I call it before, secure, whatever you want to call it. There's I think the pattern here gets a little bit more difficult the higher level item you have. Like now we have a green level item versus white on the first quest, so it's a little bit more complicated. And at the end of the video, I have a blue quality item that we can see how that changes. Now look right here, I'm almost out. I think I had like 1 turn left, but it was enough to get the job done. Or actually, I may have ran out entirely. That was number 10. Okay, so we get a new unlock. We can see where it is on the map there. Again, me struggling with the continue button. And I marked it, and we'll just ride over there and, of course, skip the ride. This is actually near one of the crafting set locations. And I also find the sky shard near here also. Don't fall in the hole. There are actually a ton of bears in this area, which is pretty consistent with what we recall from the Skyrim game. And so we're just repeating the process once again. You can see me settling on a more grid-based approach, like just trying to get one in each corner, and then kind of zero in on where this item's going to be. Actually, we got a really good hit on the corner there. That's the first time I'd seen that symbol, where we had a gold border and it had the swirling around it. So, probably should have taken that to be pretty serious. Unlocking these bonus items. I don't know that they're always so close to the main item, but yeah, it just may be random. I don't know. But I've already got 2 of the bonus items. There's really only 1 more bonus item to find. And so I've got a whole dig site to look through for that. I would fast forward a bit, but I don't know how far I would need to go. I don't want to jump too far ahead. It's actually an interesting process. Here, there we go. Here we have up to three layers of dirt, which means we have to use more of our actions to get there. And that finishes our second codex entry. And we should have 1 more to go after this. And so we scry once more. That's me just right-clicking on the the item and clicking on Scry. Again, this is something you want to play around with. I actually had a pretty enjoyable time with these little puzzles as far as getting to these different circles and unlocking them. Others may not enjoy it as much, but maybe that's just me. It is worth stating at this point that I am a math teacher, math professor, so take what I say about enjoying this with a grain of salt. I do like these puzzles. Okay, we have our scrying finished and a new location. This one actually sends us back to the original, the first location, which I thought was a little bit odd, but I haven't done enough of these to know how common that is. Now, I'm not sure if it's actually. I think the place we actually dig is a little bit different, but it's the same general area that it gave us. Is what I meant. So now I'm just looking around for it again. It got a little bit faster here. I got to 5 to 10. Around 5 to 10 minutes for most of these. Depends on the size of the area you have to look for. And you start to notice patterns about where these are located. The dig sites, I mean. You don't have to do a whole lot of scrying here, but I like to kind of triangulate, I guess, might be a word for it. And then, here we got again a really solid hit. So I mean, I figure it should be pretty close to that square. I don't know why at this point I haven't tried the swirling square, but it is what it is. Hey, how about that? Okay, so we found our item, but now we still have 3 bonus items to find, and we have 47 actions we can still take, and that's decreasing. I don't know what this number is still. There's probably something to that. Again, we either have 2 layers here or 3 layers with the larger rocks. And so if you push through those larger rocks, that takes 3 attempts. The other dirt here is just 2 attempts. I might actually time out on this one. Oh, that's 2. I guess I have 3 more chances. And again, I conveniently got it right before I ran out of time, so I wonder if there's something to that as far as it not being completely random, like maybe it'll just give it to you eventually. I'm not sure. And so this is our third and final codex entry, so that basically, as far as I can tell, finishes what we need to do for this particular antiquity. And it's not like I don't recall turning it in or anything. Maybe this is something for further investigation. Maybe I have to go back and turn it in at the Antiquarian Society. I hadn't thought about that yet. So it says here we've done 3 of the 3 codices. And so that basically finishes the Nord Scrimshaw pendant. Now you'll notice that it's kind of grayed out over here. This is, I'm not high enough level to do this one yet. This is a blue quality item. We can only do green when we're just starting out. But once we get to level 3, we can spend a skill point on a passive that will let us do these blue quality ones, as you'll see in a few minutes. So just continuing from there, I realize at this point I can't do that one, so I'm going to look at the skill line and see what we have there. again, it's located in a world, and I keep messing that up. Now you can see we're already at Excavation and Scrying at level 2, but for whatever reason, they're not accelerating at the same pace. So I went ahead and spent my skill points. I'm doing this on my crafter because he had the most skill points, actually. Because like I said, it does require 20 skill points to completely fill out these skill lines. So I've already got the first keen eye for dig sites. This is for 20 meters. You can see it glow. And then the trowel is a new tool that would be available in the dig site UI. And I'll talk about that as we get to the next one. Coalescence here we unlocked. Basically is a different mechanic that you'll see is inside the scrying tool. It basically allows us to alter the symbol in some of the hexagons, and then the scryer's patience basically adds an extra turn. So instead of 10, now we have 11, and eventually I'll be able to spend one more skill point there to get it to 12. Alright, now at this point, you can see I've fast forwarded a bit. About an hour later, I think. Maybe only half an hour, actually. But I'm at level 3 now. I just got to level 3, so I'm going to unlock the second level of Antiquities that I can find, which is blue level. And I'm going to go into my map, and now I see that I have another one that I've unlocked, so I'm going to go ahead and scry it. Now we can see this already. Compared to the other ones, it's definitely a little bit more complex. I feel like we had more hexagons overall, like they were smaller. And you can see the points we have to capture are not as close as they were before. And we also have up here is our coalesce tool, and so you'll see me using that now as well. In fact, I go ahead and use the coalesce tool right off here. And what it does is whatever symbol is in the center, that makes all the ones around it the same symbol. And so I'm looking at this, I'm trying to decide which symbol I would like to make them all, and I like this dot symbol because you can see how large of an area now I'm able to open up. And you can see me starting to unlock these different locations. Don't just start clicking this stuff. I already have a little experience at this point. You know, just kind of move your mouse around and see what it is you can unlock. Like at this point, I didn't feel real confident about getting to this upper left one, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and use the coalesce tool again. The coalesce tool, I'm not quite sure how often you can use it, but it appears you can use it multiple times per scrying session. And it'll be highlighted when it's available, basically. And so that was highlighted again, so I was like, I'm going to just dive right into it because I really like this tool. And I was able to get a very nice section to uncover there. So we have a couple more tries, and I get into the last spot. And I did it, and I think that was about 10 turns. I still had one turn left, I think. I went to Ardon, by the way. And so now we're going to go up there.
Thank you for standing beside the Queen at times our will.
Dwellers of darkest oblivion.
Now again, this is a fairly large area that it was unlocked. It actually took me a good 10 minutes to locate this one, I believe. We just had a lot of space to cover here. But you can see how the keen eye works there. It does give it a more significant glowing aspect. Now, this one we have up to 4 layers at the top level. This is our 3 layer size. These are 4 layers. Now we also have a trowel tool over here, and you see now we have a new symbol in the middle. Once we use our brush twice, it basically fills up that bar, and then we can switch to our trowel, and the trowel digs down 3 levels vertically in 1 square. Later on, we're going to unlock a shovel that gives us a larger area where we can dig a certain amount deep. I haven't gotten to that point yet, so I'm not quite sure. But you can see this in action now. I'm still starting with the auger tool, so I need to locate where our antiquity is. And it looks like I found a good spot. So I'm going to switch to my brush. The bar filled up after 2 brush uses. And we can see what I did there is I quickly clicked on A to access my trowel, and then dug from there. Once I saw the swirly pattern, I should have just dug right there. Essentially tells you right where part of it is. Now, in the earlier levels, you saw it take up 2 squares. This one actually had to open up, it was either 3 or 4 squares to completely reveal our item. Anyway. And now we have a 6 here. I don't know what that means. Is that time? Is that like a time limit? 6 minutes, maybe? And again, we have 3 other additional bonus items we can unlock. As soon as you see me fill up this bar, I'll rapidly switch to A, or basically I'll just press the A button and then click again, and that uses the trowel to dig down 3 levels. Which I just used right there. I dug through all 3 layers of that at once. Now on our sandy layers here, whatever you want to call it, that's actually 4 layers, so it'll go down on 3, and we have to use our brush one more time to get that next level, or all the way down to the bottom. Okay, and so we see here we got a blue quality item. This is actually a treasure piece. It's worth 1,000 coins. We actually acquired a new lead. Now, the part that frustrates me is that it doesn't actually tell us where that, what lead that is for, where it is. It's just going to be in our, in one of our maps. We'll be able to find it, or in one of our wherever we go, it'll be showing up somewhere. So it may be something that once the game launches, it'll be a little bit more logical where we can access those. I don't know if they're tradable. I kind of hope they're tradable. That'll be interesting for the from an economics standpoint. But yeah, that's what one way to get leads is from dig sites. You can get leads from just doing all kinds of different things in Terminal, just normal things in Terminal. Someone said you can find them from merchants sometimes. From quests or whatever. So, and then of course we got 3 other items. I got an item piece for the zone that I'm in, which is Auradon, so it's a twin sister piece, and a treasure item, and then another staff, and it may be like ornate or something. I'm not sure. Yeah. And we get our codex entry. And so I go to my map again, and you'll notice that the item I just done no longer shows up here. It only had one dig site I had to go to, basically one codex entry, which I thought was interesting, because the green ones I was doing all had 3, basically. Well, although Gabrielle's bottle only had 1 also, so I guess that's maybe it tells us something there. But I looked at my inventory again, and you can see the pipe, 1,000 coins. Again, I'm not quite sure if I need to turn that in or if I could sell it or what. So that's something I'm going to be looking into. If I do figure that out, maybe I'll comment about that. But anyway, that's the end of the video, and hopefully that has been informative for everyone. I certainly enjoyed working through learning all this stuff, but I also want to help others do that as well. So let me know if you have any comments, or you can expand on some of the things I've said, or if you have any questions, and I'll try to help as best I can. Thanks for watching, everyone.